Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffrey Combs on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, year of our Lord, 2026. Good to be here with you on a historic holiday day that is very, it's an acclimated drinking day for those of you who are aware of that. And there are many cities that have St. Patrick's Day parades. New York, Chicago, Kansas City are the three most prevalent that I'm aware of, and I am from Kansas City. So I participated in some of those events back in the days, back in the late 70s in through the mid 80s, through my drinking era. And I wrote a post on this today, and I said, gratitude. St. Patrick's Day is a holiday and a great tradition. Unfortunately for me, this holiday was very dangerous, and every holiday became an excuse to consume alcohol and whatever drug of choice that would put the edge on and take the edge off. December 17th, 1988 was my last drink as I was experiencing suicidal thoughts, the shakes, delirium tremens, DTS, delirium tremens, and large quantities of alcohol to suppress my already low self-esteem. And I surrendered to God on that day, December 18th, 1988, and began the commitment to sobriety, recovery, and higher consciousness. And I said, I'm grateful to all of you who have been my clients, attended my seminars, and followers for the last 28 years for Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Happy St. Patrick's Day. So in many areas of the United States, people will be drinking green beer. So as I said, I'm from Kansas City, and there is a bar in a place called Westport, which is an area of Kansas City, and they serve green beer from 6 o'clock until 6 o'clock St. Patrick's Day. So I pray for you that you're experiencing a sober St. Patrick's Day, and whatever the meaning of the holiday is, you're experiencing it. And I am experiencing it in sobriety as I have for many years, 38 years. So good to be here with you. Topic for today's Facebook Live is called the Reticular Activating System. Now, I've been covering this content on the reticular, I'll go slow, Reticular Activating System. It's the emotional engine on this side of your brain that searches for a familiar feeling that you are either addicted to, that is familiar, or has become your truth. So in your reticular activating system and higher consciousness will autonomically look for love, joy, bliss, enlightenment, knowing, awareness, belief, certainty, trust in truth. So in that form of the reticular activating system, you'll be looking for people of higher consciousness. In the lower self of the reticular activating system, you'd be looking for perpetrators, this is unconscious, perpetrators, violators, pathological liars, narcissists, and people who would take advantage of you. And that is part of the autonomic response to stimulus or stimulus to noise. Now, I first heard of reticular activating system back in 2002 by a then friend of mine, and this is from The Cloning of Success. This is a workbook by John Assaraf. So John also wrote the book The Answer, and he also wrote the book The Street Kid's Guide to Having It All. So this is the workbook. Let me get the original book for you, if I have it. So here's the original book. So this book is called, John Assaraf wrote this book back around 2002. Proctor endorsed it. So I shared the stage with Assaraf many times. This is the hardback version of this. And so I was sharing the stage with John Assaraf in Los Angeles multiple times. John lived in Rancho Santa Fe at the time. He had lived in Telluride, and he also had a home in Montreal. At the time, his wife was the mayor of Rancho Santa Fe, California. And then later, he came out with this workbook, which was the companion book to this. And John would come up from Los Angeles, or he'd come up from San Diego to Los Angeles. He'd speak in front of 100, 150 of my students who were at that time paying $3,000 for one of my advanced events. And I'd had 150 people in the room, and he would cover this topic right here, the reticular activating system. Now, this once again is from this workbook that I've had for all these years. So this is my first introduction to it. the reticular activating system. So it says the reticular activating system, it shows it right there in your brain where it is. I'll get it right there. Right there in your brain, that's the reticular activating system. Yes, John has a new IA program he's promoting. So right there it is, your reticular activating system. And it says your lightning fast personal Google search engine that finds A-list goals. Network-like groups of cells in your non-conscious brain that function up to 800 times faster than your conscious neuron's ability, directs every sensory impulse that is received, and it gives you autonomic non-conscious attention and sends a signal to conscious reality. That's a very primitive breakdown of it. It's much deeper, and there's other content that you want to understand. But what the reticular activating system means, it's the automatic search engine that takes you into fight or flight, or it will take you to higher consciousness. Now, a person who's trained to be in higher consciousness doesn't say the same statements that most people say. Most people will say how difficult something is, or how difficult it is to find a prospect, or how difficult it is dating or mating is, or they'll say how difficult life is, and they will edify, and they will qualify, and then they will continue to speak into existence very situations that they continue to manifest, meaning that their reticular activating system, which is it's right in the amygdala, and it will see lions and tigers rather than seeing a cat or a dog. And this is how many people live. They live in an overwhelmed state. So your reticular activating system does not search for truth. It searches for what is familiar. Now, when you live the truth and you let go of denial, so when you let go of lying to yourself about being an addict, or lying to yourself about your situation, or you become honest with yourself about your debt, or you become honest with yourself about your character defects. So what I love about the 12-step programs, which I'm a devotee of for 38 years, is step 1 is surrender to God. Step 4 is moral inventory of self, not others, moral inventory of self. So that's honesty. I had a major breakthrough with one of my clients today. And after the breakthrough, she was honest with a group of women that she had really hit a rock bottom in her business. And she was so ashamed to tell this situation. And her check, she had a big check drop in her business. So her check dropped from a large 4-figure check down to 100, like into the hundreds. And she was able to tell us in front of 71 women. And she was afraid, she was embarrassed and ashamed. But when she told the story, she got so much adoration, so much love from the women in the group that it changed her energy. Then she wrote a post that went viral after that. I mean, this is what happens when. I was a major contributor to this because over the year of coaching her, I was assisting her to change her belief and to let go of some of the trauma and control she was holding on to. So she wrote a post that it went viral and had over 1 million views. It had over like 265 shares. People started to come into her inbox. I mean, it's what we dream of. It's what we pray for. It's that God winking, that synchronistic event, that miracle that God bestows upon you at certain times in your life. It's happened to me when you let go. And you can't keep looking for the miracle, but there's a way that you expect it without an attachment. And then this is the term, they show up. So the reticular activating system operates off what is called a signal to noise response in low self-esteem and anxiety, fear, and doubt. In higher consciousness, your reticular activating system will search for truth. And so that's why as you become skilled at understanding and pulling back the curtain, and you could look behind the veil and understand that the war that's in front of you, that's being perpetuated by the mainstream media and Fox News and the two-party system that's continuing to create the black and white, right and wrong, the love and hate, the good and bad, the dichotomy, and they're accusing Orange Man bad and this team and this one's Orange Man good, and the two sides are being divided. Well, when your reticular activating system is operating in a full function and your brain is not in brain fog and you're living in higher consciousness and you're living in clarity, then you're no longer the mind-body connection to the trauma bonds, the panic patterns, and the chaos and the drama that you grew up in. If you grew up in a home of narcissists, or you're an adult child of addict alcoholics, Well, your reticular activating system is going to be living in high alert. So if you grew up in that household, you're growing up in unpredictability. And then if you're misdiagnosed by the school system in the 60s, like I was, and you're told you have ADD, ADHD, and then you're one of those unfortunate children that were put on Ritalin in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and now you're 45 or 50 or 60 years old, and that Ritalin is now Adderall, the drug of choice for the breakfast of champions, for big P, you know what P stands for, and BM and big P, who rules most of our world. And if you're in that TikTok world, then you've been dumbed down. And this is why it's important that you access higher consciousness, be and stay sober and relaxed body. You begin to address the trauma bonds and panic patterns, and you start to have clearly defined boundaries. And then as you begin to realize, I am not responsible for your feelings. I am a black sheep. I do not belong to this family any longer. I've been triangulated. I've experienced flying monkey syndrome. The family send the people out to traumatize me, to take you off the yellow brick road, the road of gold. They want you on the road of dirt. How dare you excel or exceed beyond my expectations? That is called gaslighting. And if you're a black sheep, you are letting go of that. You're a student of the world. You hit your rock bottoms for a purpose, and it was not to die in vain. It was not to tiptoe quietly through life. It was not to find, your objective is to find your teammates, your soulmates, your significant others. Your objective is to find other black sheeps like you. But that means you are required to let go of your trauma, your chaos, your drama, your story, and stop being a victim. And you can't focus on what you didn't have, didn't get, what you lost, relationships that are broken. You have to learn to focus on the present. That's right here, right now. Right FN, right, you know what the F word means. Right now, right here in the moment. And that means you have the ability and the skill set to let go on command. OC on command. So that's right, Kevin, thank you. That was good of me. That was quick of me. Kevin Paulson, longtime client, my brother. Kevin and I, when I say we go way back, we go way back. I had the privilege of meeting Kevin several years ago. He came to see me speak in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And then Lori Ford, always good to see you. Lori's a long-term. Patty is on today's call. Patty and I go way back also into the 2000s, back in the day. So it's good to see many of you here today. Patty and I have a relationship bridging almost 20 years. So Lori and I have over a 10-year relationship. Amber and I are over 5 years. Let's see, who else do we have here today? Kevin and I are well over 15 years at least. Sarah and I are approaching 4 years. So good to be here with all of you today. So if you didn't see the post I wrote about St. Patrick's Day, go to my Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Give me a like and a look on Instagram or Facebook. I wrote a post about St. Patrick's Day, and I'll just break it down for you. St. Patrick's Day used to be a very dangerous day for me. I grew up in the Midwest, and I'm from Kansas City. So Kansas City is one of the St. Patrick's Day parades, and that was a day of debauchery for me. It was green beer, shots, cocaine, barbiturates, and it could be a 2 or 3 day bender. And when I would wake up from these 2 or 3 days, those of you who have ever been through any addiction, you're now in recovery, you'll remember, I'm sure you can remember what those days were. Those were called nights of the long straw. Nights of the long straw. So it was typically for me, it was cocaine, barbiturates, and alcohol, and whichever one would put the edge on or take the edge off, whatever order it came in, it didn't matter to me, as long as I can continue to live in that low self-esteem and that cardio cocktail, that adrenaline that a junkie lives for. And eventually I would hit that rock bottom and start all over. Well, the pleasure wasn't worth the pain. So St. Patrick's Day has extreme, unique meaning to me, can bring tears to my eyes. St. Patrick's Days were blackouts, challenges. People would call me and tell me the things I would do. I would forget. I didn't remember. So St. Patrick's Day and sobriety is absolutely a gift. A lot of gratitude for me on every St. Patrick's Day. Breathe, release, and let go in a relaxed body. If you're on today's Facebook Live and you are seeking one-on-one coaching and you are a former client, I have a unique marketing proposition for you. And if you will reach out to me, I will let you know what that is till the end of March. So if you're a former client and you'd like to find out what that is, I would be honored to share it with you. I also have a lifetime coaching offer for any of you that are serious, not curious. Breathe, release, and let go. Deep gratitude for those of you who are here this afternoon. Amber, always good to see you here. Lori, always. Patty, Kevin, longtime friend. Sarah, honor, honor, honor. And then those of you who will be watching this, Jeff Avia, who is an amazing man for me, who lives right up the highway from me. Jeff, good to see you this afternoon. Much gratitude to all you on St. Patrick's Day. I'm glad you're here, not on the streets. Breathe, release, and let go in a relaxed body.